everybody is talking about the Kavanaugh effect. What effect will the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, what effect will that have on the midterms? And the answer is we don't know. It really does seem that it has scrambled everything, that people are going to be voting on whether they want to be governed by mob rule and anybody who gets accused is guilty, or whether they want the rule of law and the Constitution and that. So that's essentially what you'll be voting for, is you vote whether to support Trump's Republican Party or the Democrats. But the one thing we do know about the Kavanaugh effect, we do know that it has driven the left insane. They have lost the plot of America. They are acting like absolute crazy people. Trump is actually running on this now. If you will go to cut 4, and you can hear he is playing this up to the hilt.
Democrats have become totally unhinged. They've gone crazy. No, they've gone crazy. But the Democrats have become too extreme, and they've become, frankly, too dangerous to govern.
And they become a mob. And this is the thing. They have become a mob. It's not just the people who were banging on the Supreme Court doors. It's the people who were chasing, some of them paid for by George Soros, who were chasing senators down the halls, the guys who cornered, the women who cornered Jeff Flake in the elevator, paid for agents by George Soros. That's mob behavior, chasing Ted Cruz out of restaurants, mob behavior surrounding the Homeland Security lady in the movie theater, and surrounding her and spitting at her and shouting at her and bullying her. That's mob behavior. The left, the Democrat mob, does not like to be called a Democrat mob. And there's a reason for this. The reason is they're a Democrat mob. And so the Democrat mob does not like being called out. So, of course, who do they call upon to run interference for them? The media. So MRC, one of our favorite websites, Newsbusters, put out a montage of the media standing up against the idea that a mob is a mob. Here it is.
When you see people like Ted Cruz getting chased out of restaurants by a mob,
you're not going to use the mob word here.
It's totally a mob. It is without a doubt. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's a go watch. Put up the video
mob.
Of Ted.
Stop.
Mr. Trump accused Democrats of using mob tactics.
He says the Democrats are an angry mob.
Branding Democrats as an angry mob.
Democrats and the woman mob.
David, a mob.
Mob.
A mob.
Just this angry mob.
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 And then to call them mobs.
The mob on the left, the Democratic mob.
The mob. The mob's
part of an angry mob. An angry mob, he says.
What about the people who were at the Supreme Court banging on the walls? What do you call that?
The subjugated majority in this country, and they're being made out to be violent and disruptive.
I mean, it really wasn't a mob.
Accusing the left of being this angry, wild mob is just ridiculous.
Describing protesters as a mob doesn't fit the facts.
And it's really funny because Trump loves mobs.
This talk of mob rule and so on. I mean, Brooke, have you been to a Trump rally?
Donald Trump over the weekend called them a mob and compared them to arsonists.
Calling liberals the angry, dangerous mob. And this is actually a tactic that Hitler used.
If you wait long enough, they get to Hitler. Hitler must just sit up in his grave and bump his head against his coffin every time this happened. Although I guess he wasn't in a coffin. But there it is. You know what I love about this is, like, if it walks like a mob, talks like a mob, sounds like a mob, it's a mob. And Don Lemon, who is just a lemon head, Don Lemon was saying, oh, well, it's not, we have a constitutional right to go into a restaurant and harass a senator. No, you actually don't. That is not what free speech is. That is not how free people behave. It is absolutely not within the realm of free speech to go screaming at people, to dox them so that people go to their houses. It is absolutely mob rule. And they're encouraging it. We played Hillary Clinton the other day saying, oh, we can't be civil anymore until we win. Why? We don't want to be civil when we're out of power. When we were out of power, that's when we become uncivil. Eric Holder, we got to stop for a minute. Eric Holder is obviously thinking of running for president. This was former attorney general under Barack Obama. Only attorney general in the history of the United States to be held in contempt of Congress. For what? It was because when he got caught out and investigated for running guns, essentially, the Fast and Furious operation, in which they allowed Mexican gangsters to buy guns because they were going to trace the guns. That was the idea. They were going to trace the guns. And they just lost the guns, and the Mexican gangsters got the guns while the feds were sitting there watching them. And finally, a border agent was killed by this. So they investigated. He refused to hand over the documents so they could see it. And Barack Obama refused to have the Justice Department investigate him and prosecute him for contempt of Congress because he claimed he was protecting executive privilege, the old Bill Clinton trick. It was like everybody from his mother to his cook had executive privilege under Clinton because he didn't want to admit this. You know, I got a lot of feedback about the Max Boot interview that I did, a Never Trumper Max Boot. And, you know, there were two kinds of feedback I got. One was, why did you play that? Why did you let him say those stupid things? And the other was, I'm glad you let him say those stupid things so I could hear them. But the one thing that everybody found incredible was his idea that Barack Obama was somehow a great, honest guy who didn't violate the Constitution, which is my big argument, that Trump, for all they yell about him and all his rudeness and his strange sometimes behavior, he hasn't violated constitutional governance at all. And Obama did it routinely. He transformed the government into a Democrat machine like in Chicago. So here's Eric Holder telling people what he wants them to do.
They have used the power that they have gotten for all the wrong things. They want to keep themselves in power. They want to cater to the special interests. It is time for us as Democrats to be as tough as they are, to be as dedicated as they are, to be as committed as they are. Michelle always says, Michelle Obama, I love her, you know, she and my wife like really tight, which always scares me and Barack. But Michelle always says that, you know, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
When they go low, we kick them. And they, you know, and people are encouraging, they're encouraging people to basically attack, you know, congressmen, senators. Who was it? It was Cory Booker. Played Cory Booker. Here's Spartacus telling people they should go after people get up in the faces of congresspeople.
Please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can't say it's not a mob when you're encouraging people to be a mob. You don't see Donald Trump. Donald Trump riles up his base. There's no question about it, but he doesn't rile them up to violence. He doesn't rile them up to attack people. He never said that. He never said, go kick them. I mean, when he was campaigning, and I used to rail at him against this, when he was campaigning, he sometimes skirted the edge, and it really bugged me, and it bugs me still that he did it. But since he's become president, he hasn't been doing that, and they have become his worst self. As I always say, Trump at his worst is the Democrats. That's why they hate him. But more important than this, more important than the mob, is the fact that what they are fighting for, what the left is actually fighting for, is to destroy constitutional governance. I mean, one of the things that I keep saying about, you know, people say, well, Donald Trump had all these, you know, women who said he did these nasty things. Well, all of the women who accused him, they accused him of things that were creepy mischief, you know, of putting his hands where he shouldn't have put them, of looking up their skirts when they were walking above him, that kind of thing, kind of, you know, creepy stuff, but not assault. They didn't, only his ex-wife during a divorce proceeding accused him of really raping her and then said, no, that was the lawyers talking. It was just part of the divorce settlement, everything else. But the thing is, he was running against, and this was another disagreement I had with Boot, he was running against a career criminal, a woman who was, you know, listen to Ken Starr talk about her. He was on this close to going after her for perjury. After her testimony, she stonewalled everybody, but a career criminal who openly did not support the First and Second Amendments. She openly did not support the Heller decision, which said the Second Amendment guarantees your personal right to bear arms. And she didn't support the Citizens United decision, which basically supported your right to have political speech. I mean, it was the First Amendment. This is what they're going after. Listen to some of the stuff that they've been saying. Ian Millhiser, who is a George Soros guy from the site Think Progress. So he is the justice editor there. And he writes this piece after Kavanaugh gets confirmed. The Constitution of the United States has failed. And this thing is amazing. It is just like a It is really like a 19-year-old who's just read that idiot Howard Zinn, and he's like, wow, sometimes bad things happened in America. It's not all good. And so he hates America. And he says Americans speak of our Constitution as if it were a religious text. To label a law unconstitutional is not simply to say that it violates some procedural rule or legal technicality. It is to label it fundamentally un-American. He has a problem with this. This is exactly right. It is fundamentally un-American. But our Constitution has not served us nearly as well as we would have been served by other systems adopted by our peer nations. In other words, in Europe and Scandinavia, all of which live under our protection, under our umbrella, using our machines, our innovation, our financial security, all of which are essentially client states of this great country. And none of them would even exist at the level of diversity and freedom that they exist in if it weren't for our inspiration, which gave it the first birth of true freedom on the planet. So his complaints: the Electoral College allows people he disagrees with to get elected. He doesn't like that. The Electoral College, Trump did not have a popular majority, though he would have had he been running in a popular election. He would have run his campaign differently. He would have won that way. And he doesn't like the fact that you can't distribute wealth. If it were just guys like him, just George Soros, radical hacks like him, that would be one thing. But MSNBC, remember Lawrence Stop the Hammering O'Donnell? He's over there complaining about the Electoral College, too. He's the hammering. There he is. Stop the hammering. He wants to stop, while he's stopping the hammering, he wants to stop the Electoral College. He tweeted out the founder's design flaw in democracy, the Electoral College, and he wants to get rid of the Senate. 2 senators per state, no matter what size or population. And that,
Stop the hammering.
Yeah, stop this constitutional stuff. Alexandria Google Eyes Cortez, the know nothing. I mean, talk about a woman. Every time she opens her mouth, I think she may actually lose one of the most democratic districts in the country. But she tweeted out, "It's well past time we eliminate the Electoral College, a shadow of slavery's power on America today." So what is it they're saying? The Senate, the Electoral College, it gives power to the states. It means that if you live in Wisconsin, what a great state, by the way. I was just there. What a beautiful, beautiful town Madison is. What nice people, what great food. But the left does not want them having the same power as the people in California and the people in New York, because that's them, and they hate you. They hate the rest of the country. They hate the people who don't think like them, and they think because they are so righteous, they should have the right to reach out from LA, which knows nothing about Madison, which knows nothing about Arkansas, which knows nothing about Tennessee. They should be able to reach out and tell those people how to live. And that's why they keep going back to Democrat institutions like slavery and Jim Crow, because there were times when states' rights was used to defend bigotry. That is true. They're right about that. But it was all Democrats. It was all Democrats doing that. Now that it's Republicans, we don't have that problem. They're just trying to live the way they want to live in their locality, not the way you want them to live in your locality, and they despise them. And if you don't think they despise them, listen to the way, if obviously they're racist about white people. They've used words like white male as a pejorative, which is, I just find that disgusting. If I use the word black male as a pejorative, they'd come in here, Shapiro would come in here and drag me out. I mean, they're like, no, seriously, nobody on the right thinks like this. Nobody on the right wants to think like this. Nobody respectable on the right. I'm not talking about the people who go nuts in the comment sections. I'm talking about the mainstream. But the mainstream of the left is talking about whites as if that's somehow wrong. But then if you're black, if you're Kanye, listen to the way they talked about Kanye on Lemon Show. This is cut number 8.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. And we have this now, and now Donald Trump is going to use it and pervert it, and he's going to have somebody who can stand with him and take pictures. Just looking at Scott's. Scott's like, whoa, okay. So
it's a Chris Rock reference, by the way, Scott. Go back and watch the old Chris Rock stand-ups from the 90s.
Maybe
I will look that up.
I know that. All right, listen. Maybe it'll work, Tara. Will it? I don't know.
Work for who? It's not going to work in the black community. Listen, black folks are about to trade Kanye West in the racial draft, okay? They've had it with him. He's not the same
Whoa.
Kanye.
I do know that reference. I know that that is an old Dave Chappelle skit. I know that one. I got that one. All right, good. I'm 1 for 2. All right, keep going.
I mean, listen to that. They're ejecting Kanye. Kanye is going to have lunch with the president today. And of course, it is working. It only is working because black people under Trump are doing great. You know, the economy is great. Jobs are there. Record low unemployment. And the white guy, Jesse Lee Peterson, said the white guy was a coward. Jesse Lee just doesn't hold back. You know, that's why I love him. He just says what he has to say. But he should have said, you know, this is racism. They eject you from their identity groups if you don't agree with them. Anyway, that's the Kavanaugh effect. The Kavanaugh effect is driving them nuts. I think it's going to be good for us in the midterms. This is not a crazy country. This is not a radical country.